Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Laws of Business Breakthroughs, hosted by Bimal Shah, the CEO and founder of Raj Parth Achievers. How are you this evening, Bimal?
Great, awesome. Thank you, Blanca, for having me.
I'm always excited to have you. And what we decided to do, just so everyone's aware, we decided to go live at night instead of our Monday morning setting, just to mix it up a little bit and have a little fun. And we'll be experimenting. And you know what? Already more people signing in. I want to see comments. I want to see excitement. I want to see engagement. Webcasts are meant to be interactive, at least the way the Laws of Life does them. We like our audience engaged. We want people asking questions. There's Deirdre. She's a very good friend of mine. Our sons played basketball together. Deirdre is so beautiful, so talented, and has a line of, she does custom bow ties. She does, Deirdre, tell us, put in a comment, what are you up to these days? And how can we utilize Bamal's expertise to help you? And
And a free book. She wins a free book as well. Breakthrough.
That's right. If you ask a question of Mamal, you get a complimentary copy of Mamal's book. So that's very exciting. So Mamal, why don't you kick it off with your 80/20? And I want to say a big shout out to Camille Robb. We had a powerful summit today, Mamal. And Camille was the winner of the charity challenge, and our guest of honor invited 27 guests to the summit today. And that created meals and donation by Laws of Life to her Just Fabulous Care, which feeds the homeless. So, congratulations, Camille, on that success today, and just inspiring the community to support your cause to feed the hungry. All right, so Bamal, back to you. What is your law of business breakthrough tonight?
So today I'm going to talk about 80/20. 80/20 started in 1906. Think about that. More than 105 years or 15 years ago. And
Mm,
it's so prevalent today, especially during this pandemic. If
mhm.
there was one thing that businesses could do during this pandemic, is take a deeper dive into their own business and apply the 80/20 principle. So you can apply the 80/20 to anything you do in life or you do in business, and it works. Um, you can take a look at the first thing I would suggest is start with 80/20 in revenues. Now, a lot of people have heard the 80/20, but they have misunderstood or they have not clearly understood, what is the 80/20 rule, and
Okay.
it was by Pareto principle, that's what it's called, Pareto Virelli, in 1906. And it was applied to engineering and science and also then taken on to business.
Mhm.
So 80/20 means that 80% of something comes from 20%.
Repeat
Okay.
that, Bamal. Repeat that.
So the 80/20 rule basically means, if you write down on a sentence, 80% of X is derived from 20% of X. So that's a sentence. We put in 80% of fill in the blanks comes from 20% of fill in the blanks. Now, that fill in the blanks could be anything, whether it's revenues, cash flow, customers, headaches, enjoyment, entertainment, you name it. It can work, even your health. 80% of your health comes from 20% of the food that you eat, or 20% of the diet that you drink, or the drinks that you have. And so, if you want to multiply your health, take that 20% that you're taking and multiply it 4 times.
Okay.
Okay. So same thing with your revenues. Let's say if 80%, and I was with a client who runs, basically a chiropractor practice, and his ratio was 96/4, which in 96% of his revenues came from 4% of his customers. And yet he was spending 96% of his time on the 4% of revenues. So
Mm.
So it's, you have to identify where your business is coming from. So start from understanding where your cash flow comes from. How you spend your day. So think about the hours that you spend in a day. What do you do with your time? Okay. How much of that time actually translates into money, productive outcomes, or long-term relationships? Or you feel like, okay, I was busy, but not productive. A lot of people are staying busy, but they're not optimally productive. So you take the 8 hours in a day and ask yourself, what did you do? And a question to you: what did you accomplish today? With I don't know, when did you start your day today?
When? I started my day today at 7 a.m.
7 a.m. So it's almost like 6 p.m. right now. So we are almost like 6 plus another 5, 11 hours in the day, right? Now, if you were to put this 11 hours, okay, and translate into outcomes or results or relationships or money, can you answer that question?
Well, I probably could. I mean, I could because I try to segment my day, and
Okay.
I have my favorite days of the week, and Tuesday is a relationship building day. So
Okay.
Tuesday is like a magical day when I do my summit, and I really don't know who I'm going to meet and who's going to inspire me and who I'm going to connect with. So Tuesday, half the day is the summit, and then after the summit, I normally try to have 2 to 3 meetings with new people per our coaching session last week, with the
Right.
goal of the goals that I've set. So I did a meeting, but I had to drive an hour there and I had to drive an hour home. So I was only able to do one meeting today. So really, the truth is, it wasn't the most productive day in the afternoon.
That's how people feel most of the days. And I would say, why can't you make every day your favorite day as a goal? Target that every day is a favorite day. So Camille has a question.
Woo!
Um, Camille, where is your cash flow coming from? So I want to understand and make sure I understand that question clearly. So is that relevant? You're asking that as to pertaining to you as where your cash flow is coming from, or you would like to build a system and understanding, where to generate cash flow from for your business. So, if you want to input some insight into that question, that would be great. But taking that question and where your cash flow is coming from is a great question to ask yourself.
Hmm.
Where is your cash flow coming from? Who's paying you money? Who's cutting you the checks? And how much are they paying you? Who's writing you the biggest checks? And go after the biggest check writers. If you want to succeed in business, if you want to scale your business, you have to go after the biggest check writers. And if you do not know who they are, or if you know who they are, but you don't have them in your list, I can build you a list of the biggest check writers for you.
Nice. So,
Right.
how are you going to do that? So, what you're really saying is you can help all of us prospect?
Yes. So I'll tell you a story. Richard Viguerie, he's one of the one who has built a fascinating campaign for Reagan and also for Obama, two great presidents that we have had that have astounding victories, like a landslide victory that we can say, right? And he started his marketing business, his career, with building a list of people who would donate in 1916. His social security is 4 numbers. Okay, so you can imagine how old he is.
Mm.
Yeah. So building a list of people who donated $50 or more. Okay. And he had to, at that time in 1916, there was no computer, nothing. So he had to get, women who would sit by the House, by the Senate, write names practically down on a piece of paper. And he had a whole bunch of people filling out pieces of papers. And that's how he built this list. So today we live in a world of AI, big data, artificial intelligence. We can actually research the internet faster than you can imagine and go, find out everything that exists virtually and build your list of your dream come true prospects. You can scan the QR code. There's a link called My 5-Star Prospects, and go on there, and just answer a few questions and you will get a list. So once you have gotten to the 80/20 and you know your biggest check writers, build a profile of your biggest check writers and then send that profile to me and I'll help you build that list.
Wow, that's powerful. You know, Bamal's really changed my whole point of view. Like our last session that we had, just having someone in my life to guide me, to help me sculpt the goal was really instrumental. And it made me utilize my time more wisely, and made me value my time and myself more. So I really want to thank you for that, Bamal. And you're such a pleasure because you're very calm, you're very professional, you're very caring. It's no pressure in working with you. It's like it's really a pleasure. So I highly recommend, if you need a business coach, consider working with Bamal Shah. His QR code's at the top of the screen. His company is Rajparth Achievers, and he's a big part of the Laws of Life collaboration. So let's talk more about this 80/20. So tell me more. What's another law? What's a sub law of the 80/20 law?
So there's several sub laws. I'll start with, and I've given you some links if you want to post that. It's the
Absolutely.
80/20 cash flow. Okay. So the 80/20 cash flow, basically what it does, it takes your hourly pay and puts your hourly pay to a multiple. So if you take the amount of money you made last year, okay, or even the money that you made so far this year, and
Mhm.
divide it by the number of hours you work, you will come to an hourly pay that you make, okay, based on how much you're making. Now,
Okay.
if you say, well, let's say hypothetically your hourly pay is, $100 an hour. Okay, I'm just taking a simple example. And I say I want to take it to $300 an hour, $500 an hour. How do I do that? That's
Mhm.
where you dissect where 80% of your cash flow is coming from. Who make up your 80%? Who are the customers that make up the 80%? And start with the biggest customers, go down until you reach that 80% mark. Okay.
Mhm.
And once you reach that 80% mark, you now know how many customers made up that 80%. And you take the divided by the total, and now you build a profile. So that's how you start the 80/20 cash flow. And you can increase your hourly pay. Just multiplying your hourly pay would multiply your cash flow and your revenue. So if you're making 100,000, and let's say you say, instead of making $100 an hour, I want to make $400 an hour. Now you're taking your, uh, you know, annual revenues from 100K to 400,000. If you're making 250 and you say, I want to quadruple my hourly pay, then you're taking your revenues to 1 million. But now, in order to go from 250 to 1 million, you need to know who's going to write you that check. Okay. And you need to build a list of those. And then you need to prospect them and find ways to close them. And which I have an amazing workshop where you can close in one appointment. Uh,
Wow. Tell us
so
about that. Give us a sneak preview on how to close in one appointment. How many, what are the, give us a couple of secrets if you can.
All right. So I'll start with the biggest secret, the definition of selling. What is selling? And selling is getting people emotionally connected. And this is very important. You want people emotionally connected and intellectually engaged in a future result that's good for them, and getting them to take actions to achieve that future result. Emotionally committed to taking actions to achieve that future result. So now, when you take that and break it down, okay, you cannot the biggest mistake people make is they ask for the sale either too quickly, or they ask for the sale do not ask for the sale. There's two extremes. They either pitch it too soon, or they never pitch it. And and the reality is, you need to be asking several times. The sale is not done by asking for the sale of your product. The sale is done by getting agreement to certain things that the customer agrees upon, that leads up to your sale. So you want to be the recommender, not the persuaser. Okay. So the recommender recommends
Mm,
specific steps, right?
I like it. I like it. The recommend. So you're in favor of recommendation, not a hard sell. You have to be. It has to be an intellectual. connection to what you're offering that they really do want to be engaged in it. Because if you put too much pressure, they're not going to be interested.
Right. So like when you pose a question to the client, that question should the customer should get, an agreement that this is a yes, and you get several yeses before they close. So on my QR code, there's a link to the workshop, and the events is the, closing in one appointment workshop, where I train people on how to close, and they walk away with a customized song. I train them how to sing the song that they can, to their customers, and sing the same song as they go along, and close the sales
Mm.
appointment. The shorter the sales cycle, the more money you make.
I like it. So, do you agree with the statement, get yeses on the interim steps? In other words, get the customer, the prospective customer, to agree to certain things as you're having a dialogue to engage them in the conversation, such as you need this, you need that. Do you agree with
Well,
that?
people don't like being told what they need. So you don't want to say you need this, you need this. You want to like a question. You want to ask a question and then get agreement. Does this make sense? So when they
So
say yes.
let's practice this. So how would you ask a person if they need business coaching? How would you approach that?
So first of all, I would agree on the get agreement on the result that we're chasing. Okay. So once
Mm.
okay, let's say the result is achieving your 3-year business goal in 1 year. So would that be of interest to you? Yes. Okay. So now this is a result that you want to see accomplished. Would you like to make the first 90-day leap towards achieving your 3-year business goal in 1 year? Yeah, I would love to. Would you like to find out discover the gaps that exist in your business that will help you make this leap? Now, none of these questions I ever used the term of business coaching or selling or offered my product. I just made a compelling, irresistible offer that the customer couldn't refuse.
That's the key. That's what I try to do. I try to make compelling, irresistible offers that I don't have to quote unquote sell, that they literally jump off the paper and they're so attractive that
Right.
they want to be seized. I
Right.
mean,
And
we're
that
all too
compelling offer
proud of
does not
it.
have to take up all your resources. That compelling offer you could position in a way that it's a result that they want. And now then you show the direction. So say, okay, Bimal, how do we achieve this? Okay, how much is this going to cost?
I
So
like
now
it. I
when it
like it.
comes to the cost, I say, well, there's 3 ways we can do it. One is we can do grants. The other ways you can, invest it out of your own resources and your own cash flow. Or the third is, my business is approved through this, so you can get it this. And then say, well, I like this option. So at that point, you want to give an option. To
I
move.
love it. Well, let me tell you, every time I have a conversation with you, my world changes. You are extraordinary. And I want to thank you for teaching us so many laws of business breakthroughs. This has been an amazing, amazing episode, and I thank you so much. How do you like? Is this one of your favorite laws, the 80/20?
80/20. I mean, I have so many laws. I have no favoritism with one or the other, because they all are so relevant. There's not that this one is better than the other. The thing about business, it's ever evolving, and you need to apply all the principles of business. You can't say one principle of business is better than the other. You have to apply each of these principles has its place, and you have to find its place to apply. And when you apply the right principle at the right place, you will see the results. That's why there's so many principles that you need to apply, and so many laws that you need to apply. And
I
this
love
was
it.
great. We had Dedri and Camille. So Camille asked a question. We'll give Nelson a chance to
Oh,
ask.
I think they're not in the
Right.
episode right now. So what we'll do is we'll wrap the episode and we'll come back next week on the laws of business breakthroughs. I want to thank everybody for watching and engaging. Thank you, Deirdre. Thank you, Camille, and thank you most of Bamal. Have a beautiful night, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Blanca.